Action News, Delaware Valley's leading news program, with Jim Gardner.
I have a dream.
Those, the four words that rallied a divided nation 50 years ago. It was a speech that would become seared into our country's collective conscience. A dream given voice by its dreamer, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And today, 50 years later, it was remembered by the many who have shared it.
Through setbacks and heartbreaks and gnawing doubt, that flame of justice flickered. It never died.
It is Wednesday night. Jim's off. I'm Brian Taff. And the big story on Action News tonight is a march on Washington, a half century after the one led by the late civil rights leader, Dr. Martin Luther King. This is how it looked on the National Mall in 1963. And this is how it looked today. Crowds of people returned to the place where King's clarion call was first and most famously issued. And as they let freedom ring in Washington today, so they did here at home, symbolically ringing Philadelphia's Liberty Bell. And as some relived the moment on video screens inside the National Constitution Center, others brought the moment to life, channeling Dr. King's spirit as they did here in Dover through his most famous words. Action News reporter Kenneth Moten was in Washington today where they marked that milestone in many ways. And Kenneth, fair to say that Dr. King would have been smiling tonight.
You're right about that, Brian. I can tell you the off and on rain today didn't stop more than 20,000 people from crowding onto the National Mall compared to the 250,000 from August 28, 1963. Still, it was a historic moment as this country remembered.
They came from all over, a sea of humanity on the National Mall, reflecting on the 50th anniversary of the March on Washington.
It was really a great opportunity to hear people from the past talk about the future and how we, people of my generation, can inspire change in our country.
Let it ring! It was a 5-hour Let Freedom Ring celebration with more than 50 performers and speakers, from the daughter of JFK to the daughter of LBJ, actor Forrest Whitaker, Oprah, and plenty of soulful music.
So say with me, if God before us.
There were also leaders who were there when Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. delivered his I Have a Dream speech.
The spirit of Dr. King's words captured the hearts of people not just around America, but around the world.
Sentiments echoed by former presidents and the King family, who said that March and Dr. King were a catalyst for change.
He urged the victims of racial violence to meet white Americans with an outstretched hand, not a clenched fist.
We've got a lot of work to do, but none of us should be any ways tired. Why? Because we've come much too far from where we started.
But clear signs of progress, which is why this moment meant so much to so many.
Because they marched, city councils changed, and state legislatures changed, and Congress changed, and yes, eventually the White House changed.
People who attended today grabbed up shirts and any souvenirs they could get their hands on, including this calendar here. But those we spoke with say they took away so much more as they head back into their communities. Brian, reporting live in Washington, D.C. tonight, Kenneth Moten, Channel 6 Action News.
All right, Kenneth, thank you very much. And back here at home, a group called Fight for Philly celebrated the 50th anniversary of that March on Washington in Parkside. Activists and supporters gathered at Dr. King's mural and marker at 40th and Lancaster. Speakers read sections of his I Have a Dream speech. They also continued the dialogue, talking about justice and social justice for all. WDAS Radio remembering its part in that original march on this historic milestone. In 1963, the black radio station sent 13 buses filled with just about 800 people to Washington. Personalities went to share their firsthand experience with Philadelphians and were joined by grateful listeners.
This was his idea, and WDAS paid for those buses. And we told the listeners, according to Bonnie Prince Charlie, who is still with us and who was one of the DAS disc jockeys who went on the march, they put out a call on the radio and said, whoever wants to go, we will take you.
After the march, Martin Luther King later paid a visit to WDAS. Here he's pictured with General Manager Bob Klein, NAACP head Cecil B. Moore, and radio personality Georgie Woods.